Welcome. This is Show and Share. I'm Sue Landay from Trainer's Warehouse, and today I have Cindy Huggett with me. And this has been a long time coming. To get on Cindy's calendar is a feat, and I'm so glad we've been able to do that. Cindy is one of the original pioneers of virtual training with 25 years of experience. I know she doesn't look like she could have that much experience, but wow, kudos to you. You're also an author of 6 books on this topic and have been a learning architect and consultant to global companies. So just fabulous experience. And I also just learned about Cindy that we share an interest and an enjoyment of practicing yoga. And she even teaches yoga at her local YMCA. Cindy, I'm so happy to have you here. And can I welcome everyone to unmute themselves for just a moment and say a big hello to Cindy? Are you
Morning.
ready,
Hello,
everyone?
Hello. Hey,
greetings.
Cindy.
Hello.
Hello, Yogi.
Hello, everybody. It is so good to be here with you today. I have so many things that we can share in our time together, and I'd love to invite you into the conversation. As I mentioned, as Sue mentioned, have been doing this for 25 years. I've got right over my shoulder one of my earliest screenshots from 2003, one of my WebEx sessions. When did you do your first session? Let's go to chat. If you have a general idea of year, when did you facilitate your first program? Was it in the last 5 years? Was it in 2020? Was it sometime in the decade before then? What's your experience? And if you're watching the recording, we're getting a large variety of responses in chat. Some of you recently, some of you a long time ago. And yeah, thank you, everyone. We're here today to talk about collaboration in virtual classes and ways that you can do that through games and competitions and things. And I'll share with you our official agenda before we start. But I've got a question. And if you're unmuted, you may want to go ahead and mute. Otherwise, we'll capture your background noise in the recording. The question is over my shoulder. You can probably see it. And again, in chat, you can respond. How engaged do you plan to be during our session today? Are you just driving down the road with me on your speakerphone, or are you here with your attention? One is low, high is 7. Kind of where are you? There is no right or wrong answer to this. It is not a judgment in any way. We have all got our things going on. Now, the real question, though, has also just appeared. Whatever number you just typed in chat, what would it take to bump that up by 1? Is there something you need to set aside? Is there something you need to take care of? Because as I mentioned, I would love for you to be here and to be involved in our session today. Yeah, thank you,
And
everyone.
Cindy, I love as you're doing this and everyone is typing in that you really are modeling. You're going to be talking about stuff we get, but modeling these practices, I'm sort of taking note myself and encourage others to do the same.
I'm so glad for that, Sue. Thank you. Right? It wouldn't be authentic if not. And Sue, that's a good segue because, as I mentioned, the really big question we want to talk about today is how do you use activities and games and competition, right, to increase our engagement. And during our short time together, I'd really like to not just jump right in to, well, what are the activities we can do, which is why a lot of you are here. I know that. But to first kind of set the stage for what do you need to do for your activities to be successful. Let me say that again. You can't just jump in and be like, "Woo, let's play Jeopardy online." And no, there's a couple of things you have to do to set that up well. And Sue, did I time it right? We've now started. It's been like 3 minutes, three and a
Oh,
half
yeah, we're
minutes.
good. We're in.
Okay. Well, here's the reason I'm asking the question for everyone. How many questions have I asked all of you so far? How
Ooh.
many activities have we done in 3 minutes? We've chatted. We've right? We've been raising our hand. We came off of mute. It starts at the start. One of the biggest mistakes that trainers make is we wait too long into the session to get the activities going. I'm going to put something on screen. I'm not going to read it to you, but you can read this yourself. How many sessions have you been in that start this way with the spiel? Raise your hand if you can relate to this. Yeah, yikes. It happens. We say we want to have an interactive session and then we spiel. We don't give space for that. Notice the difference here.
Mm.
And again, right? Like Sue, what's standing out to you that you see?
Oh, raising hand. It's just active, active, active. It's
Mhm.
not well, it's not a paragraph of text,
That too.
right?
That too. Yeah. I mean, we do training not for activity's sake. We love activities. Y'all are training professionals. We love activity, but our goal is for learning. Our goal is for learning. We've got learning objectives or learning outcomes or skills. I'm curious, everyone who's here, what kind of training programs do you do? What are your topics? Are they new hire? We can go to chat to answer that. Are they new hire? Are they technical topics? Are they leadership, management? Kind of where are you in your facilitation? And whatever you're typing in, you've got goals, outcomes. So we do activities, but with a purpose, with a purpose. And my
Oh,
assumption is that if you're doing virtual training, you're bringing people together, that your goal is conversation, your goal is collaboration. Otherwise, why not do e-learning? Why not do something self-directed? Why not record a video? Like, why bring people together? If not, it's activities with a purpose. And research shows that we can enhance those learning outcomes by playing games, specifically brain development. When someone's having fun, there's that link between those emotions and our willingness to change behavior, and that games can improve learning transfer. Right. So all of that. So what are the three things that we can do before we like jump into some fun activities? We've already experienced one of them. We've already experienced one of them. And it's the early engagement, immediate interaction. Early engagement, immediate interaction.
I
You
think we
may
even
have,
have some folks who talk about, the engagement before the meeting even starts,
sure.
right? So you're already leading up to that.
I love it, Sue. And in some of your organizations, you can connect through a Teams channel or you can send an email in advance. Sometimes it's in that few minutes before a session starts because people join early. But we want that dialogue to begin as soon as possible. And it doesn't have to be complex. It can be as simple as raise your hand if you have experience with our topic. Raise your hand if you've been in Zoom before. Drop a word in chat. How's your day going? Like those kinds of things work. It doesn't have to be anything, right? So, tip number one, early engagement. Tip number two, make it social from the start. Now, it's not engagement on your own, it's also a little bit of social. Where are we joining from today? Or what's your experience with? Or, hey, everyone, let's just start on camera. We don't have to have slides to start. Did y'all notice today we started in gallery view for those of you who wanted to be on camera? And I had slides, but I didn't have slides. Some of you noticed, and it's easier to do this in some platforms than others, but I used virtual backgrounds. And instead of going from slide to slide to slide, I went from background to background to background. So we can
It's
still
interesting because I
have.
often think of backgrounds as like, what's the setting I'm putting behind me?
Mm,
But this is, you get so much bang for your buck, power for your play rate with what you've done there, making those really
absolutely. Absolutely. And all this is, by the way, is I go to PowerPoint. I make slides that have words only on one part and I export to JPEGs. That's it. That's all this is. If you come to, and I actually taught a workshop right before this one, about the first 20 minutes was nothing, was no slides. It was just backgrounds. And I asked y'all the question on a scale of 1 to 7, how engaged do you plan to be? The workshop earlier, I said, okay, everyone, we were 5 minutes in. Who's been distracted already? Raise your hand. Okay, let's talk about them. Let's put them away. What can you do to put those distractions away? Right? That kind of idea. And when did I shift out of this? When I put them in their first breakout group. And that was about 7 or 8 minutes. Well, no, that was about 20 minutes in. So, anyways, we went back and back and back and back to it. So, um, a great question, Kim, about the benefit. And oh, it so depends on your audience. Do you have an audience who loves to type? Poll questions sometimes can be faster.
Yeah,
Well, it depends on your platform, what platform you're using, how easy is it?
fair.
Those of you who use Teams, the poll shows up in chat versus a platform like Zoom. I'm glad you brought up polls though, because one of my favorite ways to use polls for both collaboration and making it social from the start is to put the agenda in a poll. Like instead of the typical slide, here's our agenda today. It's, hey everyone, here's our agenda. What are you looking forward to exploring? Because then I'm getting a read of the audience, but they're also checking out, oh, almost half the people are interested in showing up on webcam, but I'm not, I don't care about that. So I rarely, if ever, put an agenda on screen. It's usually a poll. Great question, Kim. Thank you for that. Uh-huh. Also, when we think about making it social, we often think breakouts have to wait to the end. Most of the time, if you're in one of my workshops, we're in breakouts within the first 10 minutes. Quick little 3 minutes. Here's an example of what that might look like. Yeah, the slide decks, Kayla. Slide decks often infer presentation. Slides are really just visual aids. Right. So a water cooler conversation like this one, maybe with just a pair, just two people, sometimes three. If someone's having tech issues, I'll put a group of three and they may have 4 minutes for this. Hey, everyone, quick hello. How's your day going? Make that social connection. Why? Because we're all separated. Today, we have Singapore, Boise, Boston, North Carolina, Atlanta, Chicago, but we want you to recognize you're in a room with others. This,
Cindy, is there a
go ahead,
number of
Sue.
people at which it makes the most sense to kind of make sure you get people together in breakouts?
Any size group, any
Any.
size group, any size group. And part of that, and I see Rachel's question coming in about, hey, I struggle. Can anyone else relate to that? Like raise hand. I struggle to get people connected. Part of it is, are you engaging from the start? Like, is that the expectation and it's right away, right? We're engaging from the start. Is it that you're making it social? Those breakout groups, there is a difference between having a breakout of 5 people and a breakout of 2 people. It's really hard to hide when there's only 2 people or 3 people, right? As they are um, um, popping in. But the third one, and I think this may answer your question, Sue, every single activity we do, we need to set it up well. The setup for a breakout is not just, hey, everyone, go to a breakout group. I'll see you in 10 minutes. The setup, when we are facilitating an activity, should be 3 parts. We set it up, we set it up and we set it up really well. We have to clarify any instructions, any expectations, or any roles. And here's an example. I'll put this one. This is, I mentioned the workshop I did this morning. It was on digital communication skills. This was the opening breakout activity. And they were in groups of three. I had a couple groups of two just because of the numbers. And so, very specifically, hey, everyone, our conversation today is digital presentation skills or digital communication skills. I want you to have a quick conversation to identify the challenges you have. So, it was topically relevant so that we can help you overcome that challenge. You're going to be in a room with just one or two other people, and you've got 6 minutes, you've got 5 minutes to have this conversation. So, this wasn't the only part, though, y'all. I went ahead in chat at a small group. I had 12 people. So in chat, I typed out who was in each group. And it just so happened that whoever's name was listed first, I said, Dennis, Wendy, Katrina, notice how your name's listed first. That's random, but will you be the first person to say hello? Click on thumbs up if you're okay with that. So that there's not that fumbling around, well, who's going to talk and when are we going to talk? Now, the other thing is when you get to a breakout, do you remember the instructions? So if you're in a platform like Zoom, like we are right now, as soon as the breakouts start, I can share my screen to the breakout so they see this. Or if I'm in Teams, I screenshot this and I screenshot into chat, into their chat so they can see it, right? I mean, there's ways you can get the instructions there. So simple, small groups from the start. I think you'll see, hopefully, Rachel and Kayla and Brandon, those of you who are asking questions about them, some better results
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I like that of helping them know who should speak first and
Hmm.
knowing exactly what they need to talk about.
Yeah,
And hopefully, to Lori's question about introverts, that helps them kind of orient themselves and get started rather than feeling, that angst.
absolutely. And not to generalize about introverts or extroverts, but in my experience, I find that those who are less likely to speak aloud, less likely to want to verbalize, the chatting, the polling, the raising hands are all ways to express yourself without actually having to speak. And
Mhm.
in a breakout room, if you're just talking with one other peer, one other colleague, that helps. I do refrain from from trying to say things like, Benita, you're the team leader, take all responsibility. It's, Benita, will you be the first person to speak? Or Virginia, in
Important
your room, will you help, right? Will you help people help select a spokesperson or a scribe if you're taking notes, those types of things. So
It's
I hope
important distinction.
already,
Yeah.
yeah, you've gotten some activity ideas. But are you ready to spend the rest of our time just looking at some fresh activity ideas? And when I think about fresh ideas, there's going to be some of you who are like, Cindy, I've been doing that activity for 10 years. And others who will look at that same activity and say, I've never seen it before. That's amazing. So let's recognize that as we look through some of the activities and four separate categories, starting with our brain teasers and energizers. I love them. Can we all go to chat? What do you see? What do you see as you look at this photo or image? Y'all, do you see? Right? Is it an apple? Or is it two faces? Can you think of so many lessons we can take from this, whether it's around change management or leadership or even in a technical program? You know, there's two ways that you can do this action in the database. I
Love
love
that
it.
image.
I do. And I just noticed Walt is here. Walt, it is great to see you. It's been such a long time. I love seeing friends who join in. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Um, now to really set up this activity. Remember, I said we're going to set up an activity. I actually didn't do that very well, maybe a little bit on purpose so that we could talk about it. I might say my favorite facilitator phrase, in a moment, in a moment. Why? Because anyone who's checked out, it gives you a moment. Oh, we're about to do something. But it also, those who are like ready to move on, that conversation we were just having, I'm done with it. I want to move on. In a moment, we're getting ready to do something. So in a moment, you'll see an image. Let's go to chat. Why? Because some people might think when I ask a question that they're supposed to come off mute. Some might be waiting for a breakout if we just did a breakout or a poll. So I love to be specific about let's go to chat and type in what you see. So here's the activity. And sometimes, depending on what platform I'm in, I may take a moment to try to get a break in chat. Like, okay, here's something coming in chat. And then, of course, we debrief. Well, why did we see things differently? Or what does this mean? Those facilitator debrief skills that those of you who are trainers, you know, are so important. Activities have purpose, driving to learning connection. So we set it up, we do the activity, and then we have a debrief. So are you ready to try another one? Are you ready to try another one? This
Let's do
one,
it.
let's do it. This one. I'm going to invite everyone to close their eyes. Now,
In a
that's
moment
personal
or right now?
preference. In a moment, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. I'm going to set a 30-second timer. So please don't set a timer. Let's just see how it goes. I'd love you to raise your hand when you think 30 seconds has passed. On our mark, get set, go. When you think 30 seconds has passed, raise your hand. And we're at 30 seconds. Exactly. Awesome. You can lower your hands. Thank you, everyone. And so, again, if we were to debrief, depending on our purpose for that activity, what just happened? How many of you were super early? How many of you were like, oh, that was just 5 seconds? It felt right. And then what does that mean? Now, because we're talking about activities, we did this with a visual on screen. We could have done this just with our webcam on. We didn't have to have a visual on screen. We could have done right, so many different ways. Poll question, type in chat, right, all of those things. So depending on the platform you use, the question came up earlier. What's the difference between chatting and polling, and which is better to use? Sometimes it's variety. It gets really boring to say type in chat and type in chat. Or here comes a poll question, here comes another poll question, and a third poll question. So we do want to have variety.
So
So there
Cindy,
are,
do you also
go ahead,
use
Sue.
something like this to like get people to turn their cameras on? Or because
Absolutely.
I feel like there is that tension between wanting wanting to get it right, wanting your timing to be right, and wanting to kind of see what's going on.
Yeah,
Right. So
absolutely.
I felt tension in that. So I don't know, maybe that's just like a kind of thing that you would debrief after an exercise like this.
Sure, absolutely. And Sue, maybe we should do a follow-up session all about cameras and webcams, right? Because we could have a whole conversation about it. But for now, for today, let me just say this. It's another tool you have for communicating. If you want your participants to be on camera, you can encourage that by setting expectations in advance and using them in activity right away. We talked about starting with activity. How about we start in gallery view and say things like, hey, everyone, show us what your coffee cup looks like today. And if there's a story, like using it for activity. Or I did an exercise in one of yesterday's classes where I had everybody draw something. We were doing communication and we showed our drawing on webcam, right? So using or incorporating the cameras as part of activity. Cameras should always be encouraged, never required, in my opinion. Encouraged, but not required. And for those who are reluctant to be on camera, we can always teach them techniques like using avatars. This is really my mouth moving and my eyes blinking, right? Different ways that we can make use of the tools.
Awesome.
Yep. Well, I would love to keep talking about brain teasers and timers, but I'm mindful of the time. So I'm going to move us into the category of knowledge checks and check-ins. And I'll share my screen again to make that easier for us. It's taking just a second because, technology is what it is. While my screen is showing up, who's already gotten at least one idea? A quick raise hand or thumbs up, something that you want to try. I hope so. Look at all of those hands going up. Thank you, everyone. So sure, as we think about knowledge checks, right? If we're here for learning in a virtual class, we want to check in. And fortunately, most virtual classrooms have tools like polling that we can use to check in. But how about getting creative with our polling? Can you set up a point system? Each correct answer you get, give yourself a point. Now, for some of us, that immediately creates an image of complexity that, oh no, I have to keep track of points. No, you don't. Let them keep track of their own points. On the honor system, how many points we can look at the back end settings to check their points. If a knowledge check or if this was truly a quiz, I probably wouldn't turn it into a competition. Maybe I have a fun prize. And Dennis, any platform, good question, any platform. I simply say there are poll questions, keep track, one right answer, 1 point. Tell me at the end how many points you've had. So I'm not tracking it. I let them track it. Now, sometimes I'll assign teams. All right, team one. If your name begins with the letter A through K, you're on team one. If your letters J through M, you're team two. At the end, we'll tally the points up and make it a team competition. Again, I don't keep track of the points. I let the audience keep track. Ownership, accountability, a little element of fun in there. Now, maybe you do a leaderboard. Maybe you have a whiteboard in your room that you periodically allow. And Lori, great question in chat. I don't care if they're chatting, team one, team two, and everyone can see it. They're here in the system. They're not checking email. They've created a social connection with others. Maybe it's pairs that we do. Right? There's so many variations on that. But I love to do polling with points or with a fun element. And by the way, we're not necessarily talking about accessibility today, but can I say something about accessibility and poll questions? And that is, if you're going to use poll questions, multiple choice, always include an other. Because if somebody doesn't see themselves in the answers, it might feel exclusionary. So it's just a good best practice to include an other. Find out what the other is. I guess there's exceptions to that rule. Certain poll questions, there may be an exception, but for most of them, we can do knowledge checks in chat. Maybe you put a scenario on screen. Those of you who said you're doing new hire or leadership, here's the scenario. What should Adam say next? And then you do what we call a waterfall. A waterfall. You want to see how a waterfall works? It's not going to be with Adam. It's not going to be with Adam. But you tell people type in chat, but don't send it. Don't hit enter. Wait till I say go. So, y'all, let's go to chat. Everyone, I'd love to know how many cups of caffeine have you had so far today? How many cups of caffeine? Type that number in, but don't hit enter. Don't hit enter.
It's
Don't
so
hit
hard not
enter.
to hit
I
enter.
know. Don't hit enter. Don't hit enter. Don't hit enter. How many cups of caffeine have you had so far today? Now hit enter. And vroom, there they go. So if you're using chat, and those of you who have zero, pat yourself on the back. I'm very impressed. Um, right, the waterfall, if you're using chat for a knowledge check, you don't want one person to type the answer in and everyone else give up, right? You want to allow for that. Some platforms have short answer polls that you might use instead of chat for that purpose. So it's just a thought. So introducing the idea of competition into polls really
And so,
takes
Cindy, let's
us
just do a quick check-in. I know that
absolutely.
we're kind of at that 12:30. I
Oh,
mentioned to you that I know time flies when we're having
that's
fun,
okay.
right? I know that some people may need to jump off.
Totally
Let's
fine.
keep going.
About
Um,
5 more minutes. That
okay,
is
and
what I
then
have.
for any who do need to go, we do post this and make it available after the fact, so don't worry. But
Yeah.
let's keep at it.
Yeah,
Just wanted
good.
to
I've
acknowledge
got
that.
about 5 minutes more of activities. Thank you for setting that expectation. Totally fine. Those of you who are dropping out, thank you for coming. Those of you that are still here. Um, so when we think about competition, you can do that in so many different ways. I mentioned that I use a virtual background for slides. Often my opening slide or my opening hook is for everyone to guess a certain data point that we're going to talk about in our training class. What do you think the right number is? What do you think this statistic is? What do you think the number one thing is? And it's a way that you can generate excitement and interest while still staying true to your topic. And if you have the opportunity in some platforms to do private chat, maybe you're assigning your participants to a pair chat partner and inviting them to private chat with each other. Tell your partner what you think the number is. Let's see who gets that correct. Or on a whiteboard, everyone, group one, you're over on the right side. Group two, you're on the left side. Most virtual training classes have really small numbers. They should have less than 20. If you're getting into 25, 30, 45, 50, you've got more of a presentation and you're using breakouts. Great question, Mark. You can use any platform. I use Zoom's whiteboard built in. In Teams, I use the Microsoft whiteboard. Many are using Miro or Mural or Butter even. You can make use of any tool if it's got a whiteboard built in. Now, for true game competition like things like Jeopardy, you're thinking of, y'all, here's the catch. Here's the catch. This can take forever. If you're in person, a game like this might take 20, 25 minutes. People lose interest. If you have to do a couple of questions and then go on to something else and come back to it and do a couple more, we have much shorter, not going to say attention spans because that's not the right word, but we do things in shorter chunks in the virtual classroom. So if you're thinking of games, maybe the one exception to that, and this is one of my favorite things to do if the topic is dry, I'll include a PDF buzzword bingo game. And I'll tell everyone throughout the session as you hear these words, check it off. They all have the same bingo board. It doesn't matter. But I'll tell them type bingo as soon as you hear. And they are all in chat typing bingo at the same time if they were paying attention. But so fun. And you can do this, fill a line, fill a whatever. Um, yeah, so great question, right? Great point that you can use those types of games for that. And if you're using breakouts, right? If you're using breakouts, you can do room puzzles and challenges. Like you can't leave the breakout room until you do something. And maybe it's find these images, find these portions, or solve this puzzle. And then once you do that, you can come out, you can end your breakouts. So the idea of building in both competition, collaboration, and games, as long as they further the learning, as long as they further the learning that you're setting up. And in case, are you ready for the answer? Those of you who are watching the recording are like, no, 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 hit pause. Hit pause. But I'm going to, for time's sake, go ahead and reveal the answer to this one. You know, Cheryl, where do you find puzzles? A lot of different places. If you look on my Amazon author store, there's a book that I wrote in collaboration. I contributed to with Becky Pike Pluth on games, openers, closers in the virtual classroom. There's some ideas there. There's some other activity compilations. I look at in person activities that I've done over the years and think, how can I convert those virtually? To where I get a lot of ideas. Sometimes I walk around a toy store to get ideas. Check out the Trainer's Warehouse website, tons of collaboration ideas there. Um, get creative. When you see
And
things that
again,
are
I want to
done,
kind of
yeah,
underscore that you also have a purpose. So like even
yeah,
with a puzzle like this, Cindy, how would you articulate the reason for doing this? How
yeah.
does that kind of help your group? Is it building excitement and collaboration, which is a purpose, or
Hmm.
is it, how do you think about that?
Yeah, and I can take this and repurpose it in so many different ways. In a leadership or management class, we can talk about different leadership styles. Okay, we each saw the perspective something different. When I'm having a performance conversation with an employee, they saw it one way, I saw it another way. When I look at the uh, session like this, maybe it was teamwork. You're forming a team. You had to come together. If you did this on your own versus doing it with two or three other people, what was the timing? I could talk about change management, right? So just lots of different applications for this
Mm.
same activity. For those of you, I know we are close to time. For those of you who are just joining, welcome. We did start at the top of the hour, and yes, the recording will be available. Um, I love to know what you do with the content I share. So I'm going to invite you, anyone, to share with me a email. I am Cindy at cindyhuggett.com. And I also want to share with you, I put lots of resources on my website, cindyhuggett.com/resources. I send out a virtual training tips newsletter about every other month. It's not frequent, but it does come out. So do feel free to keep that conversation going. Sue, what other information should we let everyone know before we wrap up?
This has just been excellent, Cindy. Like all along the way, and I hope it's been okay that I've kind of interjected questions and so forth.
Absolutely.
It's a learning experience by example, and I think you've given us all a bunch of tips. As you say, yes, we do have lots of tools that are interactive on our website, but also some of it is like it doesn't need the tip or the doesn't need the tool. It's just kind of how you facilitate. And
Mhm.
at Trainers Warehouse, we want to help people be better trainers. It's not just about finding the right thing or the right tool for you. So this is wonderful. And I want to apologize to those who thought that it did start at 12:30. I know that, and I don't know if this was the case, but the ATD Atlanta folks put out a, a notice that had the time listed differently. So I'm sorry if we lost you at the beginning, but as Cindy said, this is recorded.
Thank you,
So
everyone.
thank you. And we will stay on if you have specific questions for Cindy. But we'll kind of close right now and let me just offer a huge thank you.